Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, India's growing role in arming and financing the terrorist proxies like banned TTP and BLA, and of course their offshoots, through Afghan and Iranian soil has actually raised serious security concerns for Pakistan. From drones, night visions, satellite communication and cyber tools to digital financing, battlefield recoveries and evidences points to a covert Indian strategy to destabilize Pakistan, especially its provinces of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. We will try to explore how Indian intelligence raw, in collaboration with foreign actors, is actually fueling cross-border terrorism under the guise of humanitarian and diplomacy, and what countermeasures Pakistan must adopt to expose and neutralize these threats at the national level and at international platforms. To talk on this, we have in our studios Mr. Abdullah Khan. He is the Managing Director of the Pakistan Institute of Conflict and Security Studies, PICSS. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence here. And with him, Dr. Muhammad Saeed. He is the military tech expert. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for your presence. And online joining us, Colonel Retired Muhammad Abid Latif Sindhu. He is the strategic affairs expert. Thank you very much for joining us, Colonel Saab. So nice of you. But before starting our program, let's have a recent interviews clip of the DG ISPR, Inter-Services Public Relations, Lieutenant General Muhammad Sharif Chaudhry, what he said about the Indian-sponsored terrorism in Pakistan.
You see, the important question is that who is the beneficiary over here by these acts of terrorism in Pakistan? It is India. Because what is happening here is the strategy of India is to keep the Pakistan embroiled in this menace of terrorism, so that the true potential, the true power potential of Pakistan is not realized, which is the destiny that we owe to the people of Pakistan, the 250 million people of Pakistan, that is not realized. And the power differential between the two countries keep on increasing, so that India can act as a regional hegemon, a bully, and can dictate its own terms. So this is the largest strategy. And it serves India very well. It is that ideal tool of terrorism, the state-sponsored terrorism, that India has therefore embarked as a policy against Pakistan. And if you see historically, it is not that it's being done for the first time, and it's not only in the last 2 decades plus this being done. If you go way back in 1971, what was Mukti Bani? That was also state-sponsored terrorism of India. And historically, if you see, Indians have acknowledged it. Prime Minister Modi went on record, not only acknowledged but boasted about it, that we use terrorism, we use Mukti Bani.
Viewers, you have just watched DG ISPR's soundbite, and what he said that it's not new. India is supporting terrorism right from 1971, when there was, or before, well before that, in the shape of Mukti Bahini in East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. And the same India is doing from a third country or a fourth country against Pakistan, supporting the terrorist proxies like TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban. These are the banned outfits, the Baloch Liberation Army, Baloch Republican Army, and lots of other factions, and even Majid Brigade and all that. So India's covert operations are continued to destabilize Pakistan, to check Pakistan's economic growth, to halt all development projects, and have a sort of social and public unrest. These all destabilization moves, which elaborated in an interview of DG ISPR. So, to talk on this very imperative subject, Abdullah Khan sir, what about Indian intense emphasis on Afghan support soon after the limited war with Pakistan, the Marka-e-Haq, and subsequently the Operation Bunyan-e-Marsus, as India not only doubled its assistance to the Afghan Taliban, started supporting the Afghan refugees returned from Pakistan in the name of humanitarian aid and increased its raw footprints, the technical and terror financing to terrorist outfits or proxies, particularly these what I have already mentioned, and their related factions on the Afghan soil. How do you respond to this?
Thank you for having me on your show. Actually, we have to see Indian involvement in Afghanistan from historical perspective. India was always there in Afghanistan against Pakistan in 60s and 70s, and then, you know, obviously during Afghan jihad against Soviets, there was, you know, obviously Pakistan was calling shots. And then again, when the Hamid Karzai came in Afghanistan, and once again India increased its footprints in Afghanistan, and NDS was practically an arm of RAW operating against Pakistan. And in 2021, when Taliban took over Afghanistan, whole Indian infrastructure, spies infrastructure was dismantled from Afghanistan, and that was the biggest debacle for India in Afghanistan. Then subsequently we have seen in Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Bangladesh, all the Indian so-called proxies or networks, they were dismantled. Now India is actually trying to revive them once again. Recently we have seen that not only globally India was isolated, but regionally in South Asia, even India has problems with all its neighbors. So now India is actually trying to revive its lost cause in Afghanistan, and, you know, trying to do something which may benefit it. And already the TTP, the BLA, BLF, they all are already benefiting from Indian sponsorship. It's not just new thing, it has been happening. If you recall, the Pakistani Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani back in 2009-10 had highlighted this with Manmohan Singh in Sharm el-Sheikh meeting, and Manmohan Singh had agreed that we will take up this issue. But later they backtracked. And Indian media, what they are doing, whatever is happening in Pakistan, what they are trying to do is that they're trying to create a rift between the Pakistani populace and the military and the security forces, and for that they are trying to use the Afghan soil. But I think that India cannot achieve what it wants to. That I will highlight later. But I think India is struggling to actually revive what it lost in 2021 in Afghanistan. As you said that for the returnees, refugees coming from Iran and Afghanistan, India is trying to rebuild its soft power. And we must admit that in Afghanistan, India have invested heavily in, you know, creating anti-Pakistan sentiments in Afghan population. And to some extent, some of our policies also added to that, you know, dissatisfaction of the people. We hosted them for 5 decades, and now, you know, we see that lot of negative sentiments coming from Afghanistan against Pakistan, and that is the result of the Indian investment. But in the larger context, I don't see India becoming successful in Afghanistan, because our government rightly you know, started an initiative of engaging Afghanistan, and we once again, even in Afghan theater, once again, perhaps what can we say, we sent them off the table once again, the Indians in Afghanistan.
Definitely, you are absolutely right. Dr. Saeed, how you categorize the ample reports that Indian intelligence RAW is actively extending technical support, especially the provisions of drones, the surveillance equipment, or other gadgets to its terrorist proxies like TTP and BLA operating out of Afghanistan, and how conclusively it points towards Indian state complicity?
Faisal, first of all, if you look into this technology and technological advancements since this scientific revolution and industrial revolution, we come to understanding that it has impacted entire spectrum of life. And now over the years with these technologies linking to military and this warfare, so things change dramatically. Previously, these weaponry or these technologies were used by the state actors, and you know, there are rules and regulation even, you know, for fighting a war. And state for sure has that instrument of using violence, keeping in view its limits. Now, the non-state actors and the terrorist outfits, when they will acquire these technologies, modern technologies, be that lethal autonomous weapons, be that drones, be that surveillance equipment, so for sure it will come up with lethal consequences. And if we look into India's strategy, since its failure in Operation Sindhu, I mean to say, if we look into statistical data, the Pakistan armed forces, particularly Pakistan Air Force, fought really well against the conventionally superior adversary, aggressor. Pakistan's Air Force capabilities, be that related to electronic warfare or be that tangible outcome of 6-0, we come to understanding that Pakistan Air Force played a very important role in outpacing and outshining Indian Air Force. Now, what India is doing? India is shifting towards, proxies. And now India, as per reports, be that primary data, be that secondary data, I mean to say, if you look into the statements of Pakistani officials, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or if you look into the spokespersons of this inter-services public relations, we come to understanding that they claim that RAW is involved in supporting and supplying these technologies to TTP. Banned terrorist outfits, and along with that BLA. So India is involved in logistically and operationally supporting these non-state actors and also providing political patronage. I mean to say, if you look into the international levels and diplomatic forums, we come to understanding that India tried to isolate Pakistan, and one of the significant example in this regard is EU's Disinfo Lab. That report revealed India's involvement in defaming Pakistan, maligning Pakistan by using fake news, by using social media, by using dead NGOs, by using fake media. Now, that report basically indicated the real face of India. On one hand, you talk about peace and secularism. On the other hand, what you are doing, you are using malign strategy to defame Pakistan. Now, what I want to say, India support for these proxies is creating mistrust, fear, uncertainty, and this is intensifying security dilemma, and this is pushing both states towards arms racing. So what will happen? There are risks of escalation. If we look into the recent crisis, President Trump, United States of America, along with some other actors, played very important role in conflict de-escalation, and for sure it averted major war. But in future, if India come up with some adventurous approach, and in addition to it, support these proxies, so this region, this South Asia, nuclear South Asia, is a threat which we can see in shape of major war, which is not in the interest of any actor, be that India, Pakistan, be that regional actors, be that international actors.
But India is one which is fueling not only the proxies, but its intention to have a large-scale war in the region. Your point well taken, Dr. Colonel Abid, the reports suggest that usually the quadcopters have been used, but increasingly by terrorists to attack their local opponents in tribal districts of Pakistan, or at the security forces personnel who are always after these terrorist proxies, while their flight path, the payloads, tactics, and nature of this usage suggests about the level of external technical support involved. On the contrary, the RAW and Fitna al-Kharij, what we call TTP, through social media, they are blaming Pakistani military or the security forces for these attacks. How such covert strategy is actually working to malign Pakistan, to create a wedge between the people and the armed forces, and what sort of a strategy of the enemy right now, that on one hand they are pushing this terrorism through their proxies from Afghanistan into Pakistan, a destabilizing factor against the development and different projects and all that. So how do you see this overall picture?
Thank you for asking this question. As you have, mentioned Afghanistan in this equation, so I'll just make a quick comment on that, and then I'll come over to this technology which is being unleashed upon us through by India through the proxies and its perpetrators. Uh, this reminds me of Rabindranath Tagore's Kabliwala. It's a very strange phenomena which Indians they take historically, they take all the invaders from Afghanistan as, the enemies of Hindu states in centuries, and they associate them with Pakistan. But the modern Afghanistan or the contemporary Afghanistan, they have some sort of a romanticism in which they, recall Rabindranath Tagore and give them the literary terms. And they have also, over a period of time, for particularly last 20, 30 years, once NATO forces were engaged there in different operations, they invested in Afghan people through the soft power of Bollywood, books, bridges, and all that. So I think they have this dual policy towards Afghanistan. Historically, Afghanistan is their enemy, but that legacy, as per their point of view, is now a legacy of Pakistan and Muslims. But contemporary Afghanistan is India's friends. Now, coming over to this concept, actually, every technology is disruptive in nature. And so, the use of these drones and these quadcopters, there are basically 4 or 5 types of drones which are being used right now in the military applications. Long range recce and military drones, uh, vertical takeoff and landing drones, anti-drone, and the target drones. Now, the quadcopters and FPVs, first-person view drones, comes in this category, which are being used in our tribal areas, in areas adjacent to Afghanistan through the Indian proxies. And as you have said very rightly, that India is, financing this. India is providing this weaponry. Why drones are now being, introduced in this warfare in this region is because of 3, 4 factors. Number one, it is very portable. Number two, it has a very limited signature. And number three, its operationability is very accessible and it's very convenient to use. And it even goes to a place, and especially in the mountain warfare, in the warfare where you are going subconventional, even in non-contact warfare, the drone is the ideal weapon to subdue the enemy potency or the enemy capacity without even involving or without even sending your troops or physically entering into the arena. So this actually take us to the past, that what we should be doing to counter this. We at Pakistan is already, actually whatever India is actually our beneficiary also, because as they have conducted the nuclear tests, and that's how Pakistan also became a nuclear declared country. In the drone warfare also, they applied this application in the recent Mark-I-Haq, and actually enforced us and actually made us, follow the path where we are also at a very fast pace acquiring this technology in full spectrum of its application. And I think what we have to do is that we have to actually internationalize this, that Pakistan is being victimized not only through the physical interference through our neighbors by these proxies, and also the use of these technologies which are disruptive and which are actually in a way writing a new phenomena in which Pakistan has the right to retaliate. Pakistan has the right to even decimate these things by even crossing the border, by even destroying the harbors from where these things are
Okay,
being
okay, definitely.
sent to
Your
Pakistan.
your point well taken, Colonel Sahab. Colonel Sahab, I am referring to another report, a report that surfaced in foreign media recently, which unveiled that Israel has now started Balochistan Study Project through Washington-based Middle East Media Research Institute, that is MIMRE. Israel is also facilitated by India to have footprints in Afghanistan and through TTP, BLA and other terrorist entities inside Pakistan to fuel terrorism and unrest, not only to destabilize Pakistan and undermine development, but also have intelligence gathering across the border into Iran or from Iran, while India again emphasizing Kabul to have trade from Chabahar. That is the pinpointedly, Chabahar is the pinpointedly a center from where the Indian intelligence actually operates. So that actually the point of contention now, because they are supporting Baloch terrorists at the Iranian soil who do the cross-border activities within Balochistan and then ran away back to Iran. So how do you see this whole aspect of Indo-Israel nexus in supporting these terrorist proxies to destabilize Pakistan?
Yeah, actually, Pakistan was already, trying to highlight the same phenomena once even Gulshatin Yadav was, arrested. And we have told Indian, we have even produced a dossier in which it was very elaborately highlighted that the Iranian territory, especially the Balochistan and Sistan and the Chabahar area, is being used as a harbor to wage these type of activities against Pakistan. But then the Iranian government was, they were not very forthcoming to address the concerns of Pakistan. But nevertheless, Pakistan has raised it internationally also and with the neighbors also. Now, as far as, as you have mentioned, a new phenomena, which is a new think tank, PEMRI, Middle East Media Research Institute, which was actually launched as as an institute or as a think tank, which main purpose was to bridge the language gap between the Middle East and the West. But this was only a facade. Actual aim was to destabilize the countries of Middle East through engaging with the proxies and through interfering into the internal affairs and particularly the ethnic.
Some of the terrorist leaders from Balochistan, they're the part of this think tank, like Harbe Mari is the part and parcel of this memory.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, they are part of this think tank. And this think tank was, as far as its language project was concerned, they used to translate the news and other available literary materials from Turkish language, from Arabic language, from Persian, that is from Iran. And now they have also included Urdu and Balochi language. So the nefarious designs which are being, unfolded against Pakistan is now very evident that India has all the footprints, India has all the involvement, and India is using the border areas of Pakistan, particularly the Balochistan and the KP area, and the territory of Afghanistan and the Iran as the harbors to harm the interest of Pakistan, to introduce these terrorists into the Pakistan, and also to destabilize the internal assimilation and the balance of the internal society of the Pakistan, thereby creating an internal security situation. So I think this also leads to a concept that since now the new great game or the great power competition is also being played in this area, so Pakistan response should be to highlight again this issue internationally and to go and eliminate these proxies, particularly the BRA, the BLA, and the segments which are being operated by the Indian health.
You're absolutely right. Your point well taken, Colonel Sahib, your point well taken. Dr. Saeed, what about Indian military and intelligence agencies actively involved in supplying Indian origin components, even softwares, the cyber tools and the satellite communication systems, drones and the surveillance gears captured from the terrorists during different counter-terrorism intelligence-based operations in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan. So how it can be curbed and what role the Kabul can play in this regard, because we have a lot more engagements now with Kabul from the last 6 months at least. So if they are serious in regional peace and particularly the stability in Afghanistan?
Okay, this question has two aspects. But before that, I would like to mention that Indian military was involved in training Mukti Banis. Like around 85,000 Mukti Banis were trained in 1971 and even prior to that, so that it can be used against Pakistani state. And you know, for sure that led to that 1971 war, and it came up with lethal consequences for Pakistan. And still, you know, if we link it to the contemporary times, so Pakistan's acquisition of nuclear weapon in order to ensure its security and survival is rooted in that specific 1971 strategy of India. Now, coming to contemporary time, Indian military and its agencies, if you look into the media reports, if you look into the statements of Pakistani official, be that civilian, be that military, we come to understanding that these kind of you know, claims are surfaced repeatedly out there, and there are open sources which substantiate this argument. How we can curb this India strategy? I think that first and foremost, we need to maximize our technological capabilities. I mean to say, this electronic warfare is very much important. And this electronic warfare basically, and these capabilities played an important role where Pakistan Air Force countered Indian Air Force. So electronic warfare, for sure, along with this electronic warfare, we need to come up with devising various tools in order to counter drones and other related technologies which you mentioned. We need to focus on hard kills. So countermeasures such as electronic warfare and signal intelligence capabilities, we need to maximize it. Now, secondly, what is important is that we need to take legal measures. I mean to say, we need to reach out to international agencies, United Nations, other international agencies, International Court of Justice and related forums in order to present the evidence of Indian involvement to support proxies over here in Pakistan. And this is what Pakistan has done. Pakistan has provided dossiers to United Nations and other agencies. So we need to come up with more force. We need to come up with more evidence. And at the same time, we need to maximize our diplomatic reach out. I mean to say, we need to focus on great powers, international institutions, like-minded countries, so that we can tell the world that what Indians are doing. And at the same time, border management is very much important. Be that on eastern side, western side, you know, this border management is at the center of curbing all these phenomena. Now, the second aspect, Kabul, what Kabul can do. We need to engage Kabul. We need to engage Kabul to act against the terrorist outfits, and they need to eliminate the safe havens over there, and at the same time they need to extradite the unwanted personnel. I mean to say, it is in the larger interest of the region. If you look into Kabul's interest, Islamabad's or New Delhi, there need to be you know, a joint framework to eradicate, to eliminate the menace of terrorism. Nevertheless,
Definitely,
what India is
definitely.
doing, India is supporting,
Absolutely right.
India is
Absolutely
supporting
right.
terrorist outfits, and this is very dangerous for peace and stability in the region, and the international community need to look into it.
Your point well taken. Abdullah Khan sahab, as Dr. Saeed said, that engagement with Kabul. Now, Pakistan is trying hard to have this engagement intact and to enhance bilateral relations in all aspects. During the day-long visit to Kabul, Interior Minister Mohsen Naqvi met his Afghan interim counterpart Sirajuddin Haqqani and urged to take decisive action against Indian-sponsored terrorist outfits, especially proscribed the Fitna al-Kharij TTP, and stop the cross-border infiltration, smuggling, drug trafficking, and strengthen border controls for peaceful coexistence and regional stability. So, do you think that Afghanistan will adhere its promises or do the same as it's an ongoing practice between the two countries?
This is a very important aspect of our discussion. I think after wasting almost 2 years from both sides, we are on track, both Afghanistan and Pakistan, and this was the need for both the countries. It was in the benefit of Pakistan to engage, and it was in the benefit of Afghanistan to engage. I think this will definitely result in positive outcome. And Afghan Taliban, they also have realized that this has now become the TTP, which they thought they were brother in arm in the past, because they fought together as well against the NATO forces. But now they are becoming liability for the Afghan Taliban, their government, because other than that, they don't have much trouble with Pakistan. The only issue which is creating, biggest trouble for them, because a lot of issues they have faced, a lot of repatriation of Afghan refugees and other things. Their economy is crumbling, a lot of issues they have been facing just because of TTP.
And now because of this liability, actually India is using them as proxy.
They have realized that they had committed to the word that they will not let the Afghan soil to be used against any country, and especially the NATO allies and others. But they have realized in other countries like Pakistani friends, they also made them realize that you are letting India once again, and this will actually not destabilize just Pakistan, it will destabilize Afghanistan as well, because obviously if you engage into dirty wars, eventually your own country suffers. So now the realization is there. I think we should give them time, and eventually things will come. They are trying to lay off them. We have seen a lot of senior level TTP commanders have been killed in Pakistan. We have not seen this for from 2014 onwards, but since last year and now, we have seen a lot of TTP's, shadow governor type senior commanders have been killed in Khyber, and DA Khan and other parts, and some other places as well. So they are actually pushing them, go get away from us, but they are delicate, because there are some domestic issues as well. So we should give them time, and I think the positive results will come. Give me just a few seconds to say one thing about the Balochistan. There are two parallel separatist movements with organization. One is the Free Balochistan movement led by Harb-e Mari. The other is a Baloch nationalist movement led by Dr. Naseem. So one is very close to the Iranian intelligence, BNM, and the other is very close to the Israeli intelligence, which is Harb-e Mari. This Yar Baloch, who is now have become part of memory, is basically a member of Free Balochistan movement led by Harb-e Mari. Harb-e Mari is also leading one of the faction of BLA, BLA Harb-e Mari group, which is almost dormant now. But those who are closer to the Iranian intelligence, as you have highlighted, they are more lethal in Pakistan. But in this confrontation, I think good news for Pakistan will also come, because they are competing for influence. Iran and Israel, they are both competing for influence in Afghanistan, in Balochistan. But recently we have seen some symbols or indications that Iranian too have realized that this is not in their favor. So we may get some good news from Iran as well in the context of Balochistan.
Definitely, you are absolutely right, because the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian is going to arrive in Pakistan soon, next month. So we hope that in agenda there would be a talk on Sistan, Balochistan and our Balochistan as well, because these terrorist groups are actually the destabilizing factor, not only in Sistan, Balochistan, but also in Pakistan's Balochistan, and we are suffering because of them, and even the Balochistan people are actually suffering. Pakistan is suffering for that. So Dr. Saeed, what do you think, how Pakistan has to deal with the expanding Indian hybrid strategy of not only placing itself to the world as victim of terrorism, but also extensively equipping terrorist proxies in Afghanistan with advanced tech communication systems, the night visions, the thermal imaging devices, and helping diverting the US NATO weapons which were left over when the drawdown was there, to enable these proxies to have cross-border terrorism, targeting civilians and security forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and then activating social media against the state of Pakistan. So how do you see this hybrid approach of our enemy to destabilize Pakistan?
Yeah, Faisal, if we critically look into it, so the intricacies and complexities which are involved in this whole scenario, So I think that we must have comprehensive and holistic approach in order to manage all these things. And not only comprehensive and holistic approach or framework, but we need to focus on both. I mean to say, on one hand, traditional security, on the other hand, non-traditional security. So this traditional security is very much important. I mean to say, we need to equip ourselves with technologies. We need to focus on cyber-based technologies. We need to focus on AI-based technologies. We need to focus on, if they are using drones, we need to come up with making our drone capabilities sophisticated. So these traditional security capabilities are very much important to conduct kinetic operations. So
by the way, we are alhamdulillah far ahead from our enemy when it comes to the drone technology. So there is nothing to worry about. But the thing is that most of the times we cannot employ each and every asset against, because you know that everything has its price, and just nominal quadcopter through which they are dropping some sort of a mortar or some rocket or something like that, or bombs or even grenades. So in that strategy, do you think that we should have to employ the hard and soft kill as it's needed at the border, in the border areas?
As I mentioned earlier, keeping in view the intricacies and complexities, we'll be coming up with multifaceted approach, multifaceted strategy. Whatever, whenever, wherever is required, we'll be coming up that specific tool in order to counter the threat. So along with traditional capabilities, we must, focus on non-traditional security too. I mean to say, if I give you the example of this narrative or this hybrid warfare, the use of social media or other media forums which I mentioned earlier, which India and Indian agencies are using against Pakistan to malign Pakistan, to defame Pakistan, we need to counter that. So how we are going to do that? We need to come up with 5 layers approach, starting from individual to societal to state to regional and international. I mean to say, these 5 layers are very much important while focusing on traditional security and non-traditional security in order to counter the threats, because India is coming up with multifaceted strategy, and Pakistan and Pakistani institutions, they need to come up with strategy in order not only to deter them, but to counter them and counter them efficiently.
Effective counter strategy that is needed.
KP police is now using the jamming system of against the drones of terrorists.
Yeah, definitely. They have started it, and that's an encouraging thing, really. Colonel Retired Abid sir, there are lots of reports that unveil through confessions, digital evidence or recoveries in different intelligence-based operations from captured militants that had directly exposed Indian intelligence involvement, including the funding channels using digital technologies, the cyber sources, the drone supplies and related training and operational guidance even provided to the anti-Pakistan terrorist groups operating from Afghan soil particularly, and at the Iranian soil as well. What could be our strategy to eliminate such threats?
Actually, Indians, we have to follow their narrativity arc. In their narrativity arc, they are trying to establish to the world that, God forbid, Pakistan is a country which is actually the place from where every terrorist activity is originated. So, as Dr. Saab was saying, that we have to, counter this in all the layers of our application as far as our response is concerned. And plus, this war, which we are fighting right now, is basically a societal war. The main target uh, through Indian intelligence agencies, all of Indian intelligence agencies, be it NIA, be it RAW, be it NTRO, their technical part of their intelligence agency, is basically the society of Pakistan. They actually even they try to infuse and they try to actually cultivate the misinformation, disinformation, and false propaganda into our system through our social media. And as Lennon has said, that our useful idiots, they follow that concept and then share it, then propagate it without even ascertaining the source, without even ascertaining the effects which they're making on our society. So as far as this new technology or this application of drones and the use of Afghan territory is concerned, I think we have already made this point clear so many times to the Afghan government, to the interim government of Afghanistan, that their land is being used against us. And if they don't do anything, if they have some restraints, some inabilities through their system of governance, in which they think that their hinterland is now being ruled by the warlords, which are not in control of Afghan interim government. So then Pakistan has all the right to retaliate. Pakistan has all the right to go and eliminate those targets, to go and eliminate those harbors, those places from where these things are being perpetrated against Pakistan, and is trying to destabilize us. As you know, Nietzsche once said that madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, in political parties, and in cults, it is a rule. So I think we have to break that rule. We have to go for that madness and eliminate it right from the source, from where it is being, it is being done towards our territory, and due to which we are, facing the brunt. Our border areas, our frontiers
So,
are being
Colonel Retired
destabilized.
Abid Sahab, Colonel Abid Sahab, why the world is not understanding the cruel game India is actually playing? On one side, a huge supporter and sponsor of terrorism in the region and globally, and on the other hand, playing the victim card. It is when India is already exposed, not only in Canada, in United Kingdom, in US, Australia. The Five Eyes report is very much clear on that aspect, that Indian state-sponsored terrorism is actually hitting globally to the different countries. Then Pahalgam happened, and without any investigation, India imposed a war on Pakistan, while now another false flag operation Mahadev, and this is already continued, because India is saying, just yesterday the Indian Prime Minister Modi addressed the Lok Sabha during the monsoon session, and he categorically said that Sindhu is still continued. So this is one of the flank of Sindhu, that supporting terrorist proxies to launch attack from the third or the fourth country against Pakistan, and then malign Pakistan in the same approach. So how do you see that? What could be our strategy, not only at the national level, but at the global level as well?
So I think why it is not happening is because of those 21 free trade agreements which India had with the European countries, with USA and all other people with whom India is in trades and in commercial parlance, and also the most favored nation status which they're enjoying, and being a market of over 1 billion people. It has those commercial and those consumer attractions, which is very attractive to the West. But as far as the part of terrorism, or the state terrorism is concerned, now even UK, Canada, America, they have even themselves, or the I5, as you have mentioned, have already highlighted that India is involved into state terrorism in different part of the world through their Ajit Doval doctrine. And there are evidence of it. They have given that evidence. Now there is a need that Pakistan should pursue it. Pakistan should, as its part of its diplomacy, Pakistan should expose it more, particularly this part and this facet of Indian diplomacy, which is terrorism-based diplomacy. And I think we should, make the international fora, make the international bodies, make the international architecture, and the people who have the conscience in the international world, particularly the West, to have the cognizance of this, and that we can only do through a very effective diplomacy and through a very agile and very proactive foreign office.
Your point well taken, Colonel Sahib. Abdullah Khan Sahib, what's the complication with the world that an orchestrated terrorism trauma inside illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir or inside India is more shocking always than Indian state-sponsored terrorism across the world and perpetually inside Pakistan through Indian facilitated, funded and trained terrorist proxies. When Pakistan lost billions in economy and thousands of the precious lives, why believing in Indian lies without proofs and not the ground realities and the lots of dossiers and evidences, ample evidences from Pakistan? Why is so?
Before coming to this answer of your question, I would like to say that last year Pakistan have carried out 2 strikes inside Afghanistan. That is not the solution, and especially when Pakistan and Afghanistan are on a course of cordiality, we should not talk about carrying out strikes inside Afghanistan. This is not the right time to talk about that. I don't think what you said, I don't think that is the situation right now, because India has cried this time after Pahalgam that the world was not going to buy their narrative of terrorism this time. Nobody believed in India. Nobody this time, and after the Pahalgam attack, and then subsequently India maligning Pakistan,
but
accusing
Khan,
Pakistan.
The ground reality is that when Pahalgam happened on 22nd of April, 22nd, and there is a hell of difference between 6th May and 22nd of April. Then when India initiated an attack, Pakistan retaliated, shot down at least their 6 to 7 aircrafts, and then afterwards Pakistan retaliated again through Operation Bunyan Marsus, and that was the prime reason when world turned towards Pakistan. But initially, when there was lots of allegations going on from India, world was supporting India at that time, and even when they have initiated that attack, world was silenced at that time.
If you allow me to disagree,
Please.
even I was following these developments, even right after the Pahalgam, when India accused Pakistan, nobody was going to buy this in the West, even at that time. This was for the first time, and I was watching that the world was somehow neutral towards this issue. Not just like in Pulwama happened, not in the Pathankot, not the other past incident. This time the Western media, even there is so much in the Indian media, they said that nobody, actually the way it should have been portrayed in the Western media, it was not portrayed the Pahalgam issue. India is always behind the world, because now the world has evolved. Who is ruling Syria? Jolani. He was previously from Al-Qaeda, now of Afghan Taliban, which is still in the list of terrorist organizations, and their leaders are in the UN list.
This is entirely another debate, and we have to just
just one second.
Please.
The India is far behind, the world is moving, and Indian narrative is always behind the world. So that's why they lost their cause, and nobody is now going to buy their counter-terrorism narrative. Now the world is engaging with Pakistan, because Pakistan walks with the world. India always lags behind.
Definitely. Thank you very much for that, Abdullah Khan sir, for your presence here in the studios and very candid views. Thank you very much, Dr. Saeed, for your elaborative views, particularly on technology. Thank you very much, Colonel Abid, for being with us online, and we given a great insight on viewers. No doubt about that. India is sponsoring this terrorism and the terrorist proxies at the state level and using it as a prime tool of its foreign policy. Terrorists are getting latest technologies like drones and all of the lethal technologies with the assistance of India, and India is the main provider. This is going to be a real challenge, but our brilliant and brave armed forces are always stand ready to face any sort of a challenge and to thwart it. India is not only supporting these proxies with the training, financing and all others, but also they are going to take revenge of the worst defeat they faced in May 2025 and supporting logistically and operationally these terrorist organizations. These proxies are now getting not only the drones, the quadcopters, but also the satellite communication linkages, the devices, the cyber tools and the digital platforms as well. This is going to be a very dangerous precedent when it comes to the terrorism. India is trying hard to have these grounds like Iran and Afghanistan, to use it against Pakistan, to destabilize Pakistan, plot against this China-Pakistan economic corridor, the development, and weaker the armed forces link with its public. But we as a nation fighting this war which India actually waged upon Pakistan, and we will defeat these terrorist proxies and India as well. But we need the ultra high-tech capabilities, electronic warfare at height. We need electronic countermeasures and the support measures as well. We have to have some sort of hard and fast kill regarding drones, quadcopters and all others. Obviously, the signal intelligence must have to be, and the satellite communication. Multifaceted strategies are actually required. We need aggressive diplomacy at the international level, particularly to unveil the dark face of India, which is the terrorism. And of course, we have to engage Afghanistan at the table, and which is right now going on, and this is the right approach. And we have to make some sort of a joint framework on counter-terrorism with Afghanistan, because this is the problem Afghanistan is also facing, and Pakistan is also. This is the time that we have to work together, Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iran, against these terrorist organizations. And we give time to Kabul because they have limited resources. So we have to acknowledge, and we are acknowledging, we want to develop their resources to effectively counter terrorism and the terrorist proxies, which are primarily funded and facilitated by India. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.